Hey everybody, I hope you're having a great day so far. Today we're going to talk about how you get paid as a travel nurse. Okay, so this video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be screen sharing on my Surface Pro and using the draw feature on there. So you're really not going to get a lot of FaceTime. I'm sorry. And also I'm sitting outside on the balcony today. I live on a somewhat busy street, so if you hear some cars in the background or outside noise, I apologize for that, but it is just too nice not to be sitting outside today. And yeah, so I'm gonna hopefully this works out with the screen sharing. If not, I can figure out some other way, but for now we're gonna give it a shot. Okay, so I wanted to start the video out talking about some terminology and vocabulary. And again, this is going to be a very basic video. This is going to be more so, again, talking about terminology, vocabulary, kind of understanding the flow of the money and kind of the relationships that surround it, and kind of where you're basically where the money you get paid comes from. Because I think that's important to understand. And in a different video, I'll talk more about the deep dive of stipends and whatnot. But the objective of this video is going to be more about, again, that flow and understanding the basic terminology so that you're able to make good decisions, knowing how basically how the game works. So what we'll start with is these two words here. First of which being this is not exclusive to traveling. This, if you've ever had a job before, this is what's called your gross pay. Okay, and this is that nice big number that everyone sees on their pay stub and gets super excited up until a point where you see how much is taken out for taxes, and yeah, then you get what is called your net pay. Okay, so again, your gross pay is your money before taxes, and your net pay is your money after taxes. This is also sometimes called your take home. And a lot of times recruiters will talk about, this is your net your net pay, or your take home for this assignment and whatnot. But for me, I would rather see the gross pay number and make my decisions based off of that, just because everybody's tax liability and circumstances are different. And I'd rather take knowing that big number and then analyzing it and figuring out if it's right for me based on that, again, on that gross pay number. Okay, so then we're going to move into this next group of words here, and this will be what's called our pay rate. And your pay rate is, again, something that is not, exclusive to traveling. This is your money that you get paid. So this is your money per hour. Okay. And yeah, again, this is nothing earth-shattering, but again, you'll sometimes hear this is what your pay rate is, and your pay rate again is even more than that. It's your gross pay divided by hours worked. And I wanted to make sure that you understand that too, because sometimes, a recruiter will throw out this massively, juicy number at you. It'll be somewhere like $3,000 a week, and then you look at the fine print, and that's 48 hours a week. So that brings your pay rate down quite significantly. So again, you have to kind of look to see what your what your dollars per hour basically is going to be. From your, again, we're talking about another word here, and this is what is you'll sometimes you hear referred to as the bill rate. Sometimes you might not hear it because it's not quite talked about often, and the reason that's so is because that is the money per hour again, but your pay rate is paid out. Your pay rate, again, we're talking about pay rate, is paid by agency to you, and the bill rate is dollars per hour again, but paid by facility to agency. Okay. So again, it's important to understand that, and then again the flow of kind of how the relationships work. And to get a little bit even more in depth, your bill rate or your pay rate is your bill rate minus, we've run out of room, so I'm kind of going on the next line here. So minus your percent cut from agency, and again, that is your pay rate. And what this, so this part here, I don't know what we'll do. We'll make it yellow, and I guess we'll do this. So this part here, this is paying for your recruiter salary and basically everyone in the office. So I'm just saying recruiter, but basically everyone who, whether that be the credentialer or anybody, the managers or the whatever, that's, anyone who has a salary, that's paying for their salary. You also have, utilities. They got to keep the lights on. They got to pay for their computers, blah, 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 blah. You also have their marketing, and, the list goes on and on and on. So what it comes down to is, you're doing your work, right? You're taking care of patients. You're doing the things that you need to do in terms of giving medicine and putting IVs in and doing wound care and circulating in the OR and whatever you do. How your agency and your recruiter and the credentialer, they also have jobs. They also need to go to the grocery store. They also need to bring food home to their families and drive to work and all these things. So oftentimes people get upset when they see that the agency is, not giving them all the money. You'll hear that, and it's silly because, you know what, you're working, but so are these people. And, they don't have this contract without you. But again, you don't have this job without their contract and without their help and all the things that they do for you. So it's important to understand that and understand that everybody has a job to do. And in order for you to do yours and for everyone to get paid, there's a lot of cogs in the wheel that kind of need to do what they're meant to do. And of course, I'm not talking from this cut, you don't want somebody to be, taking advantage of you and whatnot, and taking too much of your share. But I think it's important to understand that what's fair is fair, and everyone, everyone can succeed in this game, and not it. Everyone has a chance to do what they're supposed to do. So I know we're coming off course a little bit, but I just wanted to, since we're on the topic, I'll talk a little bit more about it. From this cut that we have, I'm talking about, there's two ways that this can happen. Part of it is a percent commission, right? So basically what you get paid. So what the hospital is willing to pay the agency will say, okay, we want this much, and then you get the rest, and whatever that percentage is obviously their commission. You'll most likely never ever hear what the hospital is paying the agency again, because it's none of your business. It is their it's their concern. I mean, of course you have to understand what your market value is and what you're worth, and what everything is, but if what you're making is good, and you're okay with that, it shouldn't really matter what anyone else is getting paid, as far as I'm concerned. But again, going back to what's fair is fair, because there are times where recruiters will take advantage of travelers who don't quite know any better, especially new travelers, because again, they don't know their market value. They don't understand the process and the flow of the relationships and where the money comes from and whatnot. So they're kind of easy pickings, I guess. So you kind of gotta ask around, understand that there are different avenues to getting paid. There's another one that they just use a fee. So again, I was talking about all these services, right? And what they basically say is, this is what it costs to use our service. We're just going to take this same amount every single time. We don't care what your contract is paying you out. We don't care is if it's big, if it's small. This is how much we need to survive. So, this is our bottom line. This is what every single time, this is what we're charging. And if the number that we're presenting you is not good, there's no room for it. There's no like fluff. There's no room to negotiate, because this is what we're offering, because again, this is our fee every single time. And if it's not enough money, it's not enough money. We'll look for something else. So some people like that business model. Other people, again, as long as they're getting paid, they don't care what the company's making. But again, it comes up to personal preference. I would say the majority of companies are going to use this particular model, right? They're going to use this commission-based model. The only company that I can think of off the top of my head that uses the fee model is FlexCare. And that's one of the things I think that sets them apart. But again, I'm sure that there's others, but I can't quite think of it at the moment. But now we'll get back on track a little bit, talk more about, again, the flow of how things, travel down the pipeline and what happens when it reaches you. So I think today is the first day of spring, so I am going to do some spring colors. So we will start with this, and we will start with you, the traveler. Okay, and then we'll do this two-way arrow here, signifying, again, the flow of information and the relationship. Then we will move along. Again, some more spring colors. go into the agency. Okay. And then we have the facility. Okay. So in terms of relationships and information flowing and all that, what we have is, this is more or less the very basic, this is how it works. This is the flow. When you sign your contract, we have obviously your contract here. There's two contracts. So you have all of your everything that you want, you discuss with the agency, and the agency is then advocating for you. They're discussing, how the responsibilities of the facility. The facility is talking about the responsibilities of the agency, what's expected of the traveler, and blah 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 blah. And then so that here is the second contract. Okay. If we're tying it all together, your pay rate is over here, and the bill rate is over here. Again, the pay rate is money per hour paid by the agency to the traveler. Obviously, this arrow would be moving in this direction. And then the bill rate, again, is the facility to the agency. Okay, so that's that sense. So whenever you have your piece, right, your piece comes from the bill rate, the bigger chunk. Agency gets their cut over here. They pay the lights, the salaries, the marketing, blah 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 blah, and then your piece is over here. You're sitting pretty. You have plenty, and everyone's happy. The hospital has a nurse. The agency has their salaries, and you have a full piggy bank. Okay, so that is, again, the very basic flow of information and of responsibilities. If you have any issues with HR at the hospital, or any things that need to be ironed out, again, we're going to be going to our agency, right? Because we're paying them. They are on our team, and we're basically making sure that we're being looked after. If you have, of course, if it's small time stuff, scheduling and things, picking up extra shift and whatnot, it's most likely going to be, you can kind of bypass that and go right to the facility, meaning, your manager or things like that. But, if you need anyone to go to bat for you, this is what you're going to do. You don't have to fight all your battles alone. You have this group of experts here to help you. Okay. So again, you have your team of experts. Sometimes you have an intermediate spot right here. Okay, so a middleman between the facility and your agency. And what that is, I think I've run out of spring colors. You know what? Maybe we'll do this yellow. I don't know if this will show. We have what's called, oh, that's rough. Maybe this one. We have what is called the vendor. Okay, and your vendor, again, that's going in this little section here. Your vendor is basically an agency for the facility. So this allows, instead of all these gajillion agencies coming and firing away a million questions all the time at the facility, they all go through here, right? all these billion, jillion things, and then again 1 to the facility. So they're kind of the middleman. They are fielding all of the complaints. They're fielding all this stuff. They're making sure that everything is running smoothly. If usually they're a staffing agency themselves, so they're going to most likely try to fill the spots with their employees. And if they're unable to do so, then they'll come to your agency and try to subcontract out, basically. But I just thought it was important to understand that there are things called vendors, and then usually what's going to happen is, just as a little representation here, visual representation, so you can kind of see. So this is the whole thing is the bill rate, right? So I don't know, I'm going to see how artsy I can get. So this whole thing, all right, this is my attempt at making it a 3D pie, right? So the whole thing, right, if you can imagine, this is the depth of this pie chart, right? So the whole thing is bill rate. Everything is bill rate. Okay, so this is what the facility is paying out. And then we have our yeah. So we'll just mark that as pink. So we have, you're most likely going to get 75% and up. So we'll just for the sake of this, our traveler, this is our traveler's piece, right? And I mean 75%, not always $75, but 75%. And then this is also the pay rate, right? Because the traveler gets the pay rate. So just, again, we're tying this all in. Okay. Then your agency is going to get, their requirements here. So we're going to go in a different, so the agency comes here. And then the vendor, if there is one, is going to get their piece most likely. However, if there is no vendor, that's the agency's piece. And that's just the way that subcontracting works. I think that's, how it works in, construction and whatnot. Like, if you can do the job, you do the job. If not, you pay somebody else to do it, and you keep the excess. So that's that. But yeah, I think that about covers what I want to cover in this video. I hope you found, the visual representations a little easier to understand than me just talking, and I hope that's the case. I understand that my pie graph drawing abilities need to be a little bit better, but again, I hope this kind of helped out a little bit. This is the more basic, just understanding the flow of how things work, and then I'll have another video where I'll discuss more of the the stipends and all that other stuff, kind of understanding the tax, non-taxed, and how your pay and your gross pay and your pay rate is all broken down. But I think this is really important to first understand so that you can kind of know what's going on behind the scenes, and then understand the relationships and the flow of everything. But thank you so much for watching. Okay, so that concludes our part 1 of how you get paid as a travel nurse. I didn't want to get too in-depth because it can get a little complicated if that's not what you're looking for. So I wanted to keep something a little bit more basic, and if you're interested in some of the additional happenings within getting paid, I'll make another video about that and dive a little bit deeper. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to my channel. If you have any questions, please be sure to reach out to me on social media or leaving a comment below. And until next time, take care, be good.